Late September 2021. They finally arise after weeks of anticipation, and it's fun to play. Things like the movement, the combat, the presentation, they all seem great to me. Yet I get the feeling that something is missing, as if it hasn't reached its true potential. I shrug it off and continue playing anyway. Weeks pass, and I'm still willing to give it a try. Over time, it even changes and morphs into new experiences, probably to make up for the rough first impression. Despite all those changes, it's too late. Now, I only recognize it as somewhat fun. Those aspects that once seemed great to me, I slowly notice that I'm not giving them the attention they likely deserve. But I guess at this point, after weeks of not feeling entirely satisfied, it's hard to care. So as a result, I move on. Years pass, and then suddenly, I remember it. Like the vague memory of a full moon. I remember the essence of it. Wasn't it at least sort of fun? Perhaps now I can appreciate all the effort that was put into it, and it's right there, seemingly waiting for me. It's worth a shot, isn't it? As I string my nimble character across the stage, to the tune of a strange yet captivating melody, witnessing the spectacle of it all, I realize it then. It's more fun than I remembered. Melty Blood type Lumina is fun. It's no longer the game it once was, the one that I started with. It's become a game that's easier to recommend. A game in which it's easier to appreciate the things it does right, such as the movement. Before I say anything else, before this match even properly begins, check this out. That's right, this is not the type of game where you're bound to the floor. This is the type of game where you're given the freedom to exist above ground as well. And it's not just these two characters that can double jump and air dash, but every single character in the game. Everyone's capable of dashing at incredible speeds, at jumping halfway across the stage, and at bobbing and weaving in the air. And it feels very responsive too. Your character will give the impression that they're being moved naturally to the rhythm of your fingers as you jump from here to there, gracefully gliding across the screen. There's no other movement like Melty movement. It feels good to just move around, and it feels even better to use that movement skillfully during the flow of combat in this game is fast, not just because of the aforementioned snappy movement, but because of the fact that most attacks come out quickly and don't ask for a long recovery time. Also, there are only 3 buttons for attacking, which makes combos relatively easy and reliable to pull off. Doubly so if you use the optional rapid beat system, which requires only 1 button to start and end the typical combo structure. For most characters, that structure looks like this. Launching your opponent into the air, doing some damage while airborne, and then flinging them back down. It's a very satisfying sequence, one that I always enjoy doing, especially because of how crunchy attacks sound in this game. And that sequence can be enhanced when you start mixing in things like special moves. Most characters don't deal with a large pool of special moves to memorize, and the ones they do have are performed with fairly simple inputs. This makes getting into the flow of combat pretty quick from the get-go. It makes it easy to try out numerous different characters. Once you do find a character that clicks with you, try out their combo trials, and you'll soon see just how deep this seemingly simple combat system can go. With the use of magic meter, moon skills, and the moon drive, the combat opens itself up to many possibilities, which in conjunction with the slick movement leads to a very flexible and rewarding game to play. Thus far, the offense in this game can appear quite oppressive, especially if you just sit there and simply block all the attacks coming your way. Fortunately, there's some relief to be found by utilizing shields, which are this game's unique method of defense. Shields, the fourth button that can turn your defense into offense. If you successfully shield and nullify an attack, then there are 4 different ways to follow up. You can punish your opponent immediately, teleport behind them and attack, cross them up diagonally at the cost of some meter, or just do nothing. With this in mind, consider how a well-timed, or lucky, shield could end up giving you a huge reward. However, there's more to shields, another layer, another mind game at play. Because, for example, if you parry their attack and go for the immediate punish, your opponent could try to read your intentions and pull out a shield of their own, countering your counterattack. So as you can see, shields are a relatively simple mechanic that can lead to more exciting, varied matches. Being on the defensive can feel less suffocating when you know you have the ability to get out, and being able to teleport behind your opponent or cross them up allows for unique strategies in approaching them. And all of this is achieved without feeling too disruptive to the flow of battle. And whenever there's a back and forth going on, you gotta admit, it looks pretty cool in motion. Which reminds me, there's something else that looks cool in motion. It's a small thing to integrate charged attacks into your combos, but it adds that extra pinch of fun that you can't find anywhere else. Well, that was basically a lie, because you can find charge attacks in here too, and they're just as satisfying to land every single time. Just like in Under Night, a similar amount of weight is given to these attacks, seeing that powerful flash of green morph into that sudden streak of purple. It's truly a treat for the eyes. Much like the Type Lumina takes design cues from its visual novel counterpart, Tsukihime, by going for a clean, modern approach to its UI. The color palette was adjusted to be filled with more blues, grays, and yellows, which I think looks nice overall. And if you've played Under Night 2 like I have, then unfortunately, the layout of the menus will not surprise you. Neither will the custom color editor which appears in both games, but it's a much appreciated feature nonetheless. What might surprise you are the other little things included in this package that showcase the passion and the likely higher budget compared to Uni the developers had when making this game, like all the animated cut-ins when a super move is performed, or the way sprites are used during story cutscenes, or all the different victory portraits and all the many different win quotes each character has. Speaking of, there's a total of 22 characters in Type Lumina, which may seem small, but you get a decent collection of bizarre yet likable characters to mess around with, like a nun who's willing to carry out some divine retribution, a maid who is very skilled with a broom, a person with an incredible sense of fashion, a vampire who's a bit sensitive to cold weather, and this strange little creature. Even if you're unfamiliar with the original source material, I think the game does a pretty good job at getting you interested in at least some of these guys. You can learn about their stories and personalities, but these characters truly shine in the way they are animated. Thanks to the amount of effort that went into animating all their basic attacks, specials, supers, victories, defeats, and everything else in between, these characters are brought to life. And as a bonus, you're given a nice charm thanks to the use of sprite animation. So visually, this game is quite strong, with the only slightly lackluster element being the stages. They're pretty plain looking because of the use of simple polygons for buildings and stuff, but the trade-off is that you do get a decent amount of stages. And even though stages look simple, the locations chosen, the time of day, and the music that accompanies each stage make for some interesting places to fight in. Speaking of music, there's a good amount of variety between songs, which reflects the unique tone of the world and its characters. As a result, there's tracks that were obviously made with fierce and grand battles in mind, but then there are also tracks that are packed with emotion, tracks filled with intrigue, and tracks that are just plain out there. And basically all of them are a great listen. It's definitely a different feel compared to the original Melty soundtrack, But the good news is that certain songs from old Melty make a return here, so there's tons of options to choose from. Anyway, and as I'm talking about its music, I remember something. That strange yet captivating melody I mentioned before. It's called Strange Dreamer. I remember now. The real reason why it ended up being so much fun to return to. Why I ended up having such a change of heart. And if you decide to give Melty Blood type Lumina a try, hopefully you find a reason, whether it be the movement, the combat, the presentation, or anything else. A reason to stick with it for just a while longer than I did all those years ago. Even if that reason is just as strange as mine.
ありがとにゃー。